Hi. So I was asked to explain my guilty plea, why I was forced to plead guilty, how my lawyer forced me to plead guilty, basically how that transpired and how that goes with Brady. So what ended up happening was I had went through all of my paperwork for about 3 weeks. I mean, I was up late at night just really just going through all of it and seeing what was wrong with my case and where I was telling them the right thing and they were basically just ignoring it. and so after doing that, I had a meeting with the defense investigator, who I won't name because, lawsuits. But I took all these things and I laid them out on the table in front of this man. And I just said, this is this is this is this, and none of this makes sense. You know what I mean? Not with what's being said. So he didn't say anything. Um, and when I pointed out that the deputy had falsified a police report and everything, his exact words to me were, if anybody finds out, the cop will lose his job. And I got pissed. And I was like, I don't give a if he loses his job. I had to face down 3 murder charges behind this. And I was just like, I need to fire this guy. Like, there's no way I'm keeping this guy. So, a little bit more time goes by. And I, I'm realizing that, my lawyer is not really defending me either. Because I told him, lace up, we're going to trial. I did not spend 22 months in a county jail on a 22-hour lockdown to not go to trial. I realize, my lawyer is really not trying to defend me either. So, I write the judge and I say that I want to fire my attorney. So I go in and, I tell the judge, my lawyer is not trying to defend me. And I tell him, why my lawyer wasn't defending me. And I said something about the defense investigator. And the judge was like, you can't fire your attorney. He wasn't going to let me. And he said that I could replace the defense investigator. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can get someone that's actually going to help. Because I gave these people a wealth of information. The victim from my case had actually written a 5-page suicide note and went and bought a rope to do that at the Lowe's in Huber Heights. And they knew this because it was in the text messages. They knew I was not with him at the time because, they pinged my phone location from that day and the whole week before. People approached me that knew the victim in my case. And, they were like, hey, just kind of tell me things that I didn't know. And they gave me their names and their phone numbers and they said, give this information to your attorney. Because there were a lot of things that I didn't know that they knew. So, I gave them these people's names, these people's numbers. Nobody followed up on anything. They weren't worried about all the evidence because I was screwed. You know what I mean? At that point in time, that you have no choice. I mean, how do you even handle that? What do you do? When you're not independently wealthy. You don't have the money to keep hiring all these attorneys for a case like mine. You are literally looking at $50,000 plus to be defended in a case like mine. They set my bond so high that there was no way I could even get out to try to, acquire a pro bono attorney. So, I mean, I was stuck. I was literally stuck. And there was nothing I could do. I don't know what I'm doing. And, just have someone else do it. I mean, that would have been fine. I would have taken it to a professional. Wouldn't have been a problem. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So, knowing this, my lawyer does whatever he does, and they come to me with, well, we'll drop the specification. So you will have an involuntary manslaughter charge. And the sentencing range is anything from probation to 11 years. That's how they got the victim's family to agree. And that's how they got me to agree. So I had no prior felonies. So believe it or not, I was eligible for probation. It's a heavy weight on pleading because if you go to trial, I was looking at another 6 years on my sentence if I went to trial. Now, Brady falls under, it has to do with Criminal Rule 16. Okay, so on a state level, Criminal Rule 16 is where the state has to submit to the court, and it comes to your attorney, every piece of evidence they have against a defendant. So everything. Whatever you have against a person that you're saying, hey, this shows that they did this, or this is what we're, everything from statements that really had nothing to do with anything, statements that were just, everything. Didn't matter. Didn't matter how crazy it sounded. It didn't matter if it was true, untrue. A lot of people don't know this, but when you're indicted, all the evidence they use to indict you, it doesn't have to be true. Shocker, right? Yeah, no. It is in the law that they don't have to prove that the evidence they're using against you and the statements and everything else, they don't have to prove its accuracy to use it to indict you. You have to go and clear it up while you're going through your case.